Welcome, welcome, welcome. You are here at First Off Podcast. We are live on YouTube and Facebook. We have a great show for you tonight. Two phenomenal women. And our topic tonight is communication. And listen, coaching you for you is really just you for you. That's all it's about. You know, to pull up, doing something better, living your best life, and not neglecting yourself. So, Tamiko, you have to come back again. Here we go.
All right. Well, thank you. And thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be a part of tonight's show. Again, my name is Tamika Webster, and I have a podcast of my own that I've been working with for about a year now. I'm looking to launch a new podcast. So I'm hoping to
Hmm.
have your support on that new podcast. I'm happy to be here today
Absolutely.
talking about communication because we have to remember to pull each other up. That's what this is all about, right? We're only as strong as the person we pull up. So let's
That's right.
do it. Do
Absolutely.
it, Nettie. Let's do it.
Nettie's going to do it with you. I'm telling you, the pull up is real. Cordelia, please, this is your first time here on Coaching You for You. Introduce yourself. Remember, it's you for you.
All
Well,
right.
this is my first time on the show, but certainly I have been following you. We go back a long, long ways, and I
Yes,
think that this is fabulous that you have found this venue, this
yes.
way to express yourself and to also offer a lot of valuable advice. One of the things I can say about you is that you are a really good communicator, and so
Ooh,
the conversation tonight will be a really easy flow, I'm sure, for you. I talk a lot, and I'm hoping that in my communications, I always try to make sure that I'm understood. And so, hopefully, tonight, this conversation will be very stimulating, and there'll be a lot of takeaways for your viewers. You know, I'm
okay.
from Trenton. I am a former elected official in my capacity now with the County of Mercer. I work with the public and helping them with job skills, resume writing, interviewing techniques, job search, those kind of things. And, it's all about relationships and it's all about
Absolutely.
communications. So let's get at it.
Let's have at it. Listen,
At it.
relationships are important. It's the spirit you feed that grows, and that includes the people who are around you.
That's right.
And so, the circle is important. The inner circle is even more important. There are levels to this thing. And so I'm glad to have you guys here tonight. I am Annette. I am your host, and I'm excited about this podcast for a number of reasons. Number one, as Tamiko shared, and as did you, Cordelia, we're going to be working to lift people up, to send a message of the lift up, you for you, how to get it done. We're going to have a number of topics. We're going to talk about things like it's impossible to be in a relationship by yourself. We're going to talk about how important it is for you not to beat up on yourself because you're never going to win that fight. You're never going to win the fight against
Very
yourself.
good.
We're going to talk about how people are not your biggest challenge, your mind is, and how you have to adjust that and move forward. So let's get to the communication. Let's talk about what communication really is. And I'm going to kick the question out there about listening. Talk to me about listening when you're communicating and what it means to you. Cordelia.
It reminds me of a very familiar quote about communication, and it is the most important thing in communication is to listen to what's not being said.
Right.
Absolutely. And there's a part of that in here too that we're going to talk about because typically when people communicate, you know, we listen to respond. And what we're going to talk about tonight is how important it is to listen to hear and
Yeah,
to understand.
yeah.
And so, come on, Tamika.
Well, I was raised a couple of different ways. The first thing I was raised is children are to be seen and not heard.
Hmm.
And then as a young adult, my grandmother always said, you have to listen to hear. And you learn a lot more by listening,
Absolutely.
oftentimes more than talking. There's a lot of things that go on in the process of communication. You
Hmm.
know, I've been in experience. I've had experiences where I've learned the most by just listening and paying
Absolutely.
attention to what's going on around me. You know,
Absolutely.
I've also had some experiences with listening where listening isn't just keeping your ears open, it's keeping your eyes open, it's paying attention to the environment and the people around you, it's
Mhm.
drawing from that information. So I'm going to leave with you there. I've learned more listening than I have talking in many instances.
Oh, I
Absolutely.
completely agree. I completely agree. I'm usually the quiet one in the room. There's a lot of conversation going on, and people think that I don't have anything to say. It's really not that. I'm just interested in what they're talking about. You learn so much from being quiet. You really do.
That's
And so
right.
you don't always have to be heard. Sometimes you just need to take in the information, digest it, and formulate your own plan or your opinion of something. I like to listen, and people consider me a good listener because I take time with people. It's very important.
That's important.
Talking is it's like it's a natural. It's
Yeah.
something. It's like when you breathe. It's something
Right.
that we all do and we all need to do. And so it's good when you're able to get your point across and also understand someone when they're trying to get their point across. People, did you know that they consider communication hot? And the hot it means it's honest, it's open, and it's two-way.
Very good.
We're going to get to that. I'm telling you, that's a huge part of what we're going to talk about tonight.
Good.
See, that's why the girlfriends chat is so incredibly important because all of those things matter. A lot of times when we're communicating with people and they're telling us about some of the things they're going through, there's a natural instinct to beat up on people. Oh, you shouldn't have done that. This is what you should have done. And so, one of the things that's most important in communication, and I want to hear from you guys about this, you touched on it a little bit, is how to listen and not judge, how to just listen and hear, and how important it is to be gracious to the person who is speaking. They might be telling you about trouble on the job. They might be telling you about trouble finding a job. They might be telling you about a cheating spouse or significant other. And the last thing anybody, male or female, wants to hear when they're hurting is you shouldn't have. So let's talk
Right.
about that a little bit. How do you respond to people who are troubled and going through tribulation when the instinct is to tell them, well, listen, everybody else knows. How come you didn't? How do
Yeah.
you handle that when you need
Wow.
to give them love and not beat up on them? Tamika.
So for me, listening means being in the moment. I
Mm-hmm.
find myself being a parent is sometimes a challenge to listen and stay connected and be in the
Right.
moment.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also raised that it's about being respectful. When you're listening or when you're having a conversation with a person, you owe them the opportunity to be there and be in the moment and be connected and give your attention to that. When it comes to sensitive topics and people bringing information my way, the first thing I try to draw on is my empathy because maybe I haven't had that experience, but I do know that there are a couple prime things in life that we all know. We know pain, we know hurt, we know happiness, right? So,
Absolutely.
so if a person's experiencing something that's painful, I always try to just listen and give empathy. Now, we all have had, Annette, friends that have come to us and they're in the same pain that they've been in for 20 years, but they stay in that pain, right? And after a while, your ear wants to not listen and turn off. But you go back to what I like to say is just having baseline empathy for people. And maybe,
Absolutely.
maybe you don't know, maybe you haven't had the experience they're having, but you can have baseline empathy and compassion.
Yeah, could do. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. But Tamika, for someone to come to you with a problem is a big step in itself.
That's
Because
right.
a lot of times we carry so much, and usually People don't want to expose or expand on what's going on until they have reached a level where they've thought it out. They have overthought it, and now they need to lay it on someone else, right? And so,
Right.
you're right. So the first thing you do, you just want to be able to listen with an understanding, not being judgmental, because certainly, while you may not be walking in their shoes, you may have taken those same steps. You know what I mean? And so, it's important. The first thing is to know that they have your attention, and that you're listening, and that you are understanding, and hopefully, and as they're talking, you need to offer confirmation or affirmations that it's okay. What happened, whatever it is, that whatever happened, it's okay. You're not the first, you won't be the last, but certainly it's nothing detrimental, it's nothing fatal. There is a bright opening, there is a silver lining to all of this. So, when you're talking to folks, always be very hopeful with them with your feedback.
Cordelia, remember the day we were talking about how sometimes when we're struggling, we're in the car with the music?
Yes.
And we keep replaying the song. That's us crying. When we talked about that, I identified with that so much. Because when we're in pain, we just want people to hear us.
Right.
And so that leads into the next piece of this. When they don't ask for advice.
Oh, that's a good one. That's good. That's a good one, Nettie. That's a good one.
Don't give it. Let's talk about it, Cordelia. When they don't ask, don't give it.
They don't ask for it.
That's right.
So, and I've had a few incidences where that's happened, where I've seen a sister or a brother going through something, and it's very visible. They're wearing it. They're actually wearing it, and they're not asking. It's a very fine line with concern and unsolicited advice.
Right.
That can get gray. That can get gray real quick, right?
It can go south, right?
That can absolutely get gray real quick.
But I think if you first establish that I'm not in your business, but I care about you.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you let them know where you're coming from, how you're bringing this to them, it's not out of, this isn't some petty gossip. This isn't something I want to share with somebody else. I see you. I care about you. I see something going on with you. Let me just tell you what I know, and if it helps you in any way, then good. And if it's not something, if it's not what you want to do, that's fine too. But I want you to know, I care about you. I see you're wearing it. I think, and the other thing is sometimes people don't realize that they wear their emotions.
Right. I agree.
And,
absolutely.
I mean, you think it's an inner struggle, but it's all over you. It's like you got on like a cape or something, like help or something. And so you need to make them aware that it's gotten to a point now. You're not hiding it anymore. You got to deal with it, and you might need a little help with it. Yeah.
I hear you. There are times, we know when those times are. When a man comes to you about his woman, he doesn't want you to bash her.
Right.
He's crying out for help.
Right.
And that help is sometimes just to listen. And as women, we know when we love a man, we don't want to hear it.
Go on
now. Well, say it.
It could be conversation number 100,002. He did this or she did that. And so there is a moment in time when you see they're wearing, Cordelia, I like that cape thing. When they're wearing it like a cape.
Oh, yeah.
Because that happens.
Yep.
Yeah.
It happens. But when we need to talk and when we need to communicate, we want to be effective in it.
Right.
And so listening and unsolicited advice is something that we have to be very mindful of. Tamika.
So a lot of times, in my experience, when people come to you with something that is going on with them,
Mm-hmm.
they are not always looking for advice.
That's right.
Sometimes they just want to hear you say, or oh yeah. They just want to have someone to run it by. And I've
Mm-hmm.
learned that I don't have a PhD. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm always leery about giving advice, especially if it's something I haven't personally experienced, because I don't want you to go and leave your husband because I said so. And now we in a bad situation, right?
Right.
So I always think that sometimes people want to you ever just want to talk and just let someone listen,
Yes.
And in those instances where people want advice, I'm very cautious about giving advice.
Mm-hmm.
I always try to help people come to their own understanding. And I may ask a
Right.
couple questions, and my girlfriend's like, well, if he hasn't been coming home for 6 months.
Well, wait a minute. First of all, if he hasn't come home for 6 months, he's not going to be there. So let's
Ain't
just
nothing
put that out the
wrong.
way. And I might be crying about him not being there, but in 6 months, he ain't coming home. He ain't going to be there.
If
Oh,
he
I'm
hasn't
sorry.
been coming home in 6 months, he's just dropping by, checking the mail. It might be over. But
You think?
sometimes, people don't want to, and I know that's an example. I'm just giving an example of sometimes people just want to hear you listen. But then there are also times where, with my friends, I'm throwing in a life jacket because I see things going wrong and I feel like, Cordelia, I feel like they could be in harm's way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or I might have some kind of a tool or resource I can give them to help them on their journey.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I'm one of those people, I call myself a sponger, because when people do come to me with things, I'm always listening for not just what the problem is, but what I can learn from their experience.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
How we learn.
That's
We
right.
learn by listening.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
And, I had a person that I knew who would always say, you don't listen. What they failed to communicate was what it is they wanted me to hear. And so when people don't communicate what it is they want you to hear, it's almost impossible to listen, even when you're watching body language. So, for example, if somebody says, you don't listen, and what they're trying to tell you is they want to take a trip to Spain instead of Jamaica, maybe. And they'll say something like, I don't know if I'm ready to travel. Okay. So I'm thinking you're not ready to travel. When in fact, the issue is you want to do something different, but you're not communicating that effectively.
Mm.
And so there are times when we can listen intently, we cannot offer advice, and the communication will still be skewed. So we have to be careful, and listening is absolutely the key. Absolutely the key. Your tone and body language, yes.
I remember when I was going through the process of marriage counseling before you get married, it's called premarital counseling.
Right.
And every time we went, we would talk about a topic, but it always came back to communication. And I was told that if you guys, like, a lot of things can happen in a marriage, but as long as you're still communicating, you should be okay. When you fail to communicate, you fail to win.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know when I was married, before my husband died, we had disagreements. And my husband would say, I'd stomp up the steps because, of course, I'm taking a shower and going to bed. And he would say, no, we're not leaving here until we resolve this.
Wow.
And it could be the simplest thing. You know what I mean? And I grew to appreciate that. Initially, I didn't understand it. It was like, I don't want to stay here for two. But when you are married or you're in a committed relationship, whether it's business or pleasure, the communication and resolving issues up front is key. And a lot of people play games, and the games people play in communication often creates the issue. It does. And so We have to be mindful of that. But body language. So Cordelia will attest to the fact that I've learned to have a straight face.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
She's mean. She. You don't know me. You don't know me.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, after practicing years of showing no emotion, I had to readjust. Years, I elected official and not showing emotion, but you know, just dealing with the issue as it presented itself. I had to readjust, and we learn from the cradle to the grave. And so, tell me what you think about body language. Give me an example of what you think is effective body language when you're communicating to somebody, especially somebody who doesn't hear what you have to say.
I think eye contact is important. I think eye contact is important. I think that not only the eye contact, but I also think that you have to see the eye contact. What am I trying to say? You know how you can hone in on people's body language. Like if you see someone, I'm sure you've been through seminars where you talk about, when you got somebody like this, you know, the arms are crossed, you know, they're not keeping it, you know, they're like, you know, you can tell when, you know, it's just not being received or whatever.
Right.
So, you know, it's real important that you keep the eye contact. You have to make it with them. You have to find some kind of connection. If it's not, you have to find a physical connection with them. Mm-hmm. So the eye contact is about the easiest thing that you can do. And, you know, and you smile, a genuine smile, not a fake, because people can tell that like almost right off the bat. And, you know, when appropriate, sometimes you will, you know, touch a person or have a, you know, a gesture or whatever to a person. Those are the kind of things that I think of when I think of body language and effective communications.
And that's a good point, because see, you got to be really cool with me to put your hands on me anywhere. Touch my hand.
Yeah, space. Give me my space.
I'm more, you know, I'm touchy-feely. Well, that was pre-COVID. I was very touchy-feely kind of person. And a lot of times people can read my face. A lot of times I wear my expression on my face. You know, my eyes get big when something's going on, you know, and my lip will turn up, you know, if something's not quite right, or my nose will flare. I got a lot of body language. You can know me without even me talking. You can almost tell where I'm coming from. But I have developed a poker face. It kills me, but I have developed one because I realized I cannot be that transparent. Sometimes I need to be less revealing, because when you are too open and it's not in the right company, it can be detrimental.
Detrimental, misunderstood.
Yeah.
You know, I think one of the things that grinds my gears the most is when people say, I know what you're thinking.
Oh, gosh.
I'm like, oh my God. So you better bottle that, because there's money in that.
Right.
If you can read my mind,
psychic.
You can't.
Yeah.
You can't.
Yeah.
And a lot of people think that, you know, they're capable of, oh, I know what she's thinking. I know what he's thinking. No, you don't. Yeah. You don't. Wow. So it's not so much what people say, but it's what they do. Tamika.
So I want to just go a different way with this, and I hope you ladies will bear with me.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I want to first say to you both that you guys own the art of body language. I've watched from afar. You come into a meeting, you walk into the room, you both own the room without saying anything.
And that's the plan, baby. That's the plan.
You know,
you always have to shake.
Yes. Both of you, Dee Dee. I used to be like, wow,
yes.
You know, and that's the thing. But it's one of those things where that is not something that anyone teaches you as a young woman, how to come in and how to own the room and how to own the room in grace and elegance without saying a word, right?
That's right.
So I wanted to just give a shout out to both of you ladies because I've watched you over the years and you both possess the ability, the power, and the tools. When you walk in, we know it's business, right?
That's right.
Dee Dee, until you smile and put them shoulders down, we'd be like, okay.
I didn't come to play.
Yeah. And Nettie, you master the art of poker face. Because you'd be like, you want to smile? And you'd be like, hi.
How are you?
There you go. So how do you communicate when someone is not happy to hear what you're saying? That was the question, right, Annette?
Well, that's part of it. Yeah, go right ahead.
I've learned that it's important to protect yourself, as Dee Dee stated, and keep a neutral face until you know whether you're amongst friends or enemies.
Or friend enemies.
A frenemy. I like that one. I'm going to use it.
Don't forget that.
Yes.
I also think that we're raised to give strong eye contact, shoulders back, head up.
That's right.
And to have a internal calmness that defies the energy in the room. And then to observe the people in the room so that you can feel where people are, and then you can understand best how to meet them where they are or take them where you need them to go.
Yes.
That's right.
So you two Sheros, y'all own the room.
Well, thank you, darling.
That's so kind. Thank you.
And the goal is to teach other women how to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Because often when we walk in a room, we are intimidated and overpowered by the men in the room or the people who are most supportive of male dominant atmosphere. And so it takes a lot of courage and strength to walk into a room and know that, you have a right to be there.
Sure.
And so we're going to, start wrapping this up a little bit. But the other thing is, just quickly, in communication, you want to listen. You want to not give unsolicited advice unless somebody's in danger, or you understand totally the situation and are comfortable enough with that person to do it, understanding that they will be acceptable to it. Your tone and body language means everything. The last and final thing I want to talk about is how being yourself, because fake breaks trust.
Yeah.
Always be yourself in communication, whether people accept it or reject it. How they feel about you has nothing to do with you. It's it's them. It's how they think. Told you, people won't be your biggest challenges. Your mind will be.
That's right.
Remember that. It's not always about us in communication. And communication is important for a lot of reasons, but most important is, the things we learn. It helps us learn. It helps us receive information. And more than that, it helps us get to know people and get to know ourselves and solve problems.
Very good.
And so that's what communication is. And that's what it does. And so can I have your landing statement? Come on, drop it for me.
Okay.
Dee, you go first. You go first, Dee.
Okay. And I thought about this. I said, now I have to come up with something. I have to really come up with something good. I'm going to tell you, it's very simple. People may hear your words, but they hear your attitude.
Right.
And so I would say that wherever you are and you are communicating, be concise, be consistent, and just be honest. Do you know what I mean? That's all you can. That's all that you can do, and and have a true conviction to what it is that you're talking about. Don't let somebody sway you.
Right.
So I have.
Yeah. Tamika.
See, that's why she went first. So, landing statement for me, it would be: choose your words wisely. They matter. Choose your words wisely. They matter.
Yeah.
Once you put it out, you cannot take it back.
You take it back. You can't take it back.
Thank you.
And your host here, Annette, coaching you for you. My landing statement tonight is don't be fake. It breaks trust. Be honest and be trustworthy. And remember this, what people say about you is simply what they think. I say this all the time. What you do, that's your reputation. What they say about you, people lie. Who knows?
Right.
You know what I mean? They make martyrs out of monsters.
Yes.
So your reputation is simply what people think. Even in communication, your character. Your character
Now.
is what you actually do.
Right.
Your wish for our audience tonight is, Tamiko, what's your wish for our audience tonight?
Keep on listening. Keep
right.
on communicating. I'm just honest, right? You told me to be honest.
Right?
Keep on listening.
Absolutely.
Keep on communicating. Even in a pandemic, even more so in a pandemic, communication is important. What you have to say is important.
Absolutely. Cordelia.
Communication is the real work of a leader. I would simply say hone that skill. It is something that you will be using the rest of your life. And I also want to wish all those who are listening a very happy, merry Christmas, New Year. I'm looking for prosperity to you all, and hopefully the year keeps you safe and well.
And I want to tell you, ladies, how honored I am to have you here this evening, and how important it is for people to understand that beating up on yourself, this is my wish. I want you to understand this. I'm communicating this clearly and succinctly. Beating up on yourself is a fight you're never, ever going to win. Hey, go be great. Land. Send the message, whether it's personal or business, what your intentions actually are. The games people play is not a game you have to play.
That's right. Opt out.
On the court. Be on the court. Sitting on the bench is a game watcher. On the court is a game changer. Tamiko, thank you. Cordelia, thank you. To my audience, I am your host, Annette. I want to thank you for joining us tonight. Remember to hydrate. Tonight, I don't have coconut. I have Bywater. I am not advertising for them. I have difficulty drinking water. I have to drink 64 ounces a day. And sometimes this water is hard. This is how much I have to go tonight. So hydrate. It's important. Thank you for joining us. Coaching you for you. Remember this. It's you for you, baby. Good night. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.